It's hard to imagine modern people acknowledging their ignorance in a world where the click of a button can give you the illusion of intelligence. This video itself may come across as an overbearing attempt to sound like a smartass, regardless of the fact that it isn't about the ideas of its creator. But if today's internet bloggers and self-proclaimed intellectuals are the extreme on one side of the coin, then Socrates and the way he communicated with others must be what lies at the other end of the coin. And when you take a look at the ways in which the people of ancient Greece behaved during his lifetime, you may not be surprised to find that even in the time of Socrates, there was an overabundance of know-it-alls. Much of his reputation was built by exposing the intellectual charade of Athens' elite. It wasn't uncommon for Socrates to publicly interrogate politicians and poets in an effort to find someone who knew something worth knowing that he didn't. You see, one time a friend of Socrates went to consult the oracle and asked if there was anyone wiser than the Greek philosopher himself. The oracle's response? No. Baffled by the oracle's supposedly ridiculous answer, the philosopher himself set out to find someone wiser than him. And the more conversations he had with the supposed wise men of Greece, the more disappointed he was. Although Socrates hadn't found out much by speaking to these people, it's safe to say he remained absolutely obsessed with the pursuit of wisdom up until his death. Even though he considered himself far from a wise man, he often found that he was wiser than the people he talked to. His reasoning for this is something along the lines of what follows. I am not wise, and neither is the person I am talking to. However, I know I lack wisdom, while the person I'm talking to doesn't know that he does as well. Therefore, the fact that I know I lack wisdom makes me a little wiser than he is. Another interesting thing to note about Socrates is the fact that the conversations he had with others consisted more of exposing their ignorance than revealing his insight. He would ask a series of questions regarding the topic at hand, during which he would amuse his guest by allowing him to speak freely, at least at first. Following this, he would allow his opponent, so to speak, to expose the various flaws in his way of thinking. Never the person who simply announced the faulty arguments of others, the philosopher asked questions which would ultimately lead whoever he was talking to ultimately see the error of his ways. In a society where people place themselves at the level of PhDs simply because they Google searched an article from their favorite vlogger, who just so happened to cite a study which only included 12 subjects, we need more than ever a way of thinking that's closer to that of Socrates. More questions and less impulsive answers, more skepticism and less jumping to conclusions, more introspection and less Twitter wars. I'm the Modern Ape, and if you enjoyed this video, please feel free to subscribe.